to the Love City Arts Podcast. I'm Andre in the Flow. I wanted to create a space where artists could come together and encourage all of humanity through the arts. So welcome to that space. For more information, to follow my journey and the journey of all of our artists, visit andreintheflow.com and lovecityarts.org. Please enjoy today's episode, and thanks for listening. Wife, mom, podcaster, entrepreneur, creative, designer, event planner. These are just some of the titles worn as a badge of honor by Shea Wright. Shea is a public relations professional, having spent the past 15 years in the corporate realm, spearheading internal and digital communications for the financial services and retail industries. And if that isn't enough, you can also catch her with her favorite guy, her husband William, on what parenting is really like in 2018 being a millennial parent on their weekly podcast, available on iTunes at Two Cool Parents Podcast. And because there aren't enough hours in the day, she most recently started the Vine and Verse Book Club, a virtual and in-person book club celebrating literacy and promoting inspiring discussion topics for women of color. She resides in Cherry Hill, New Jersey with her husband William and their two children, London and Christian. Join me now in episode 18 of the Love City Arts Podcast with Shea Wright as we discuss finding love and peace, letting life move you, her battle with postpartum depression, turning your passion into profit, and so much more. On today's episode, we have Shea Wright. She is a wife, a mom, a podcaster, entrepreneur, creative, designer, and event planner based in New Jersey. She is a long time friend of mine, and I'm so grateful to have you, Shea, on the show today.
Woo! Thank you.
I'm so glad.
To be here.
You said before we started that this was a long time in the making, and I don't want to date us too much, but I think right, dangerous. I think that I think we've known each other for, let me do the math here, this is 2018.
Let's just say it's been over a decade.
It's been well over a decade.
Well,
and
you say things like well over, it kind of makes me feel like old lady-ish.
Okay, so a solid decade. 365 times 10.
How about that? A decade and some change.
A decade-ish. Yeah. Okay. Long enough to know that the love is real. You've always been the kind of entrepreneur and friend and creative that I could reach out to, whether it be on Facebook or social media or a phone call, and just say, hey girl, this is something that's going on in my life. We've been creatives for as long as we've known each other, and what do you think? And your insight's always amazing.
Well, thank you. Aww. I'm blushing right here.
Listen, blush away. In the opening of this episode, I mentioned all of the things that you're involved in. Your wife, mom, podcaster, entrepreneur, and the list goes on and on. I want to start off the episode with talking about what holding all of those hats means to you.
Oh, yeah. Just dive right in, right?
Yes. Yes. It's like, why deal in a kiddie pool? Let's just go on into the 15 feet where the diving board is.
Well, it's really a badge of honor. Some of those roles I've amassed just because they're passion projects, like being a podcaster. I podcast with my husband. We have a weekly podcast called Two Cool Parents. We broadcast on, iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, wherever you get your favorite podcast from. We're, broadcasting live just about weekly. We may skip a week here and there because, we're parents.
That's it.
But really, like I said, it's a badge of honor. I've been a public relations professional. I went to school for PR, and I've been doing that for about 15 years. Just kind of making my footprint, making my ways. And then I kind of decided, like, yeah, no, this 9 to 5, this corporate 9 to 5 is just not me anymore. I can't say it was like a complete revelation because I've always felt this way since I was a little girl. I have three entrepreneurs in my family. One owns a hair salon, one owns a printing press, and the other one owned a daycare. She's now since sold it. And these are my aunts and uncles, and they have worked tirelessly, worked hard, but they provided for their family, and I wanted that same aspect. I love that they weren't a slave to the corporate 9 to 5, and it was
so
great.
Because you had that example, you were like, this is possible for me too.
Absolutely. And seeing my Black aunts and uncles killing it, crushing it, made all the difference for a little Black girl growing up in, Richmond, Virginia, where we hail from.
That's our hometown.
And I always like to say, owning something that is uniquely yours is my passion. And I'm excited that I can now make that reality profitable for me and my family. So not just doing passion projects, but doing something that I'm actually equally passionate about that makes money, that earns income for my family. I started Elle Alexandria. I'm named after my daughter. Her name is London. And so we call her Elle. But I kind of changed it to the French version. Yes, one of 2 kids. I also have a son, Christian. And, I just really wanted to start creating a space in the digital sphere for creatives, whether they be artists, entrepreneurs, kind of starting out on their own, or maybe they're just, reimagining themselves. And it's like, you know what, I've created this older space. Now I want a modern, fresh twist on it. And so, how hard it is. There's so many companies out there that'll turn around a website or claim that they will, in 4 to 5 days. It's very kind of boxy. It's not customized. I just wanted to be able to share my talents with other people. So that's why I created Elle Alexandria.
I love it.
Yeah.
I'm going to pivot off of that and just talk or pause and speak about something that you just said about something that you give to your clients, but it's something that's essential for all of our lives, the reimagining of one's life. And since you've been a wife and a mom and a podcaster, and you've worn all these hats in your life, I would imagine that you've had to reimagine yourself over and over again. And I want to ask you, like, where did you find the courage to reimagine your own life?
Well, I'll be honest with you. After my son was born, he's just a year old, well, a little bit over a year. But there is something called postpartum depression in mothers. And for those who are mothers who may be listening out on the podcast, this is very true and very serious. I went through a depression spell right after I had him. Unfortunately, I was a slave to the 9 to 5. I had to go right back to work 6 weeks after having him. So
is that a contributor? Is that how this comes about, or one of the ways in which it comes about?
Well, I don't know if it's always this in every case, but I know I felt pressure to just jump right back in, and get right back to normal life. My job depended on it, household bills depended on it. And so I literally just was like, great, I had a baby, I'm back to work. What I didn't realize was I never allowed myself time. Having a child is a big change, physically, emotionally, financially. And I never allowed myself to go through kind of like each stage of that process. Just literally jump back into work. I had him in July, and I was back to work in September.
Whoa.
And it's a busy season. I worked in the retail industry, and if anybody knows, that stretch from September to December is the busiest time of year for retail. That means no days off, blackout dates, you're working, 15 hours a day. and I suffered. And so a lot of that whole transformation process came out of that time period where my husband looked at me one day and was like, babe, I think there's something wrong. And to have that partner that can be so open and honest and transparent with you and say, you know, babe, it's not you. Let's take it together.
Yes. Shout out to your buddy. What's your buddy's name for the listeners?
Hey, boo. That's my husband, Will.
Yes, yes. And so he kind of speaking, like talking you through it, he kind of being a cheerleader on your side, not kind of, but actually being a cheerleader on your side, gave you the courage to just reimagine your life.
Absolutely.
And what were some
And
of the
gave me the
steps you
space
took?
to do it. Gave me the space to do it, which was, I remember for my birthday, it was at December. Shout out to all my Sages.
Yes.
He was like, what do you want for your birthday? And I was like, I really don't know. I'm a material girl, but not in a material world. Okay.
Come on through.
And so, I said, I really just want to get better. I want to get healthier. I want to live better. So together we went on a vegan diet. We journaled. We did exercising. And the best part about it was he held me accountable. I held him accountable. Getting your body right was the first step. Getting my mind right. He would talk to me every day. Babe, what's going on? What are you thinking about? Because in that time of depression, you have such negative thoughts, harming yourself, harming your child, harming, things like that. That's why, postpartum depression for mothers is so severe, because a lot of that can happen, and then a negative outcome happen with yourself or your children. And so he would just kind of take my temperature every morning and just make sure we prayed together, we laughed together, and then we did fun things. We went and got out of the house. So I didn't feel like I had to be 100% mom. I let go of the reins a little bit. And then I got let go from my job.
Like as a result, I mean, do you think that could have been a byproduct of you loving yourself, or was it just circumstantial?
I think it was circumstantial. So the reason why I had to go back was our company was going through a merger. And if anybody has been through a corporate merger, sometimes you're on the good side and sometimes you're on the not so good side. So our company flushed out all of us who previously worked there and decided to go in a different direction. So a bunch of us were let go.
Wow. And let's talk about like how that was a blessing in disguise for you. Because I mean, there's a lot of listeners who may be going through similar, I am doing the air quotes right now here in the studio, the upsets of life or the derailments of life, and they think that this is going to end me. I'm finished. I'm done. Talk to the listeners about how your derailment was different.
It was. So I need to add one more note in there that my husband lost his job 2 weeks before I lost mine. So
this isn't just a derailment. This is like a full-on
crash, like collision course.
Wow.
And the best part about it was we got to become best friends. We got to love each other as a family. I think there is something special about being able to spend time with your children. We had the luxury of time. If we wanted to, we could go take a drive to the shore at 10 o'clock in the morning. I could be that mom that, picks her child, drops her child off at daycare, fixes breakfast, and for the first time truly be a mom, not a working mom, but just mom.
Okay, no, wait.
There for my children.
Wait, there are some listeners that are like, wait, your husband lost his job 2 weeks before you lost your job, and now you're calling this a luxury moment of time? Like, how did you get there?
So I'm glad you brought that up, because I love one of your pre-questions that you asked, which was, I think it was, what is your definition of love, or how do you look at love?
Yeah, what is love to you?
What is love to you? And I think you really don't find answers to those type of questions until you go through something. when my husband first lost his job, I knew I had to be his strength. And so I never blamed him. I never, got mad at him. I said, all right, I'm still working full time. I'll cover it. We were blessed in that way that my paycheck would cover all of our household bills. So his income was always surplus.
Yeah.
But once I lost my job, I found peace. And that's what love is to me. Love is peace. Love is there's nothing quite like, I can't really explain it, but it's just that still moment where you just find quiet, you center yourself, you find love. And we found love together at almost the exact same time, 2 weeks apart. And we realized that this journey that we were going on would have its ups and downs, would have its trials and tribulations. But out of this somewhat seemingly negative experience, we found amazing moments. We took our first trip to New York, where your studio is. We went to the Brooklyn Bridge down Dumbo and let the kids run in the park. Like it's simple things like that we took for granted because honestly, I couldn't take a day off. I was working that hard.
The golden handcuffs were just that tight. Absolutely. And tied.
It's frowned on if you take a day off. Heaven forbid, when you have children, you have to take them to doctor's appointments. I'm racing back from the doctor's appointment just to make sure I'm back in the office so I can, log in. As soon as you log in, your time logs in. And that's, what they hold you accountable for. So that slave to that clock I think it honestly for 3 years, because we moved to New Jersey from DC 3 years ago. I think I was literally handcuffed. I didn't realize it until the handcuffs came off. Sometimes life, because you won't move yourself, life moves you.
Say that one more time for the people in the back.
Yes, say it louder for the people in the back. Sometimes with life, if you don't move, life will move you. And what that means is I was in a job that was stressful. I was in a job that was demeaning. I was in a job that, my talents definitely weren't used for the best. I had a job with no growth potential. Literally, my boss told me that this is it. Like, there's nothing else for me to do. He couldn't even tell me how to do my job.
Wow.
There was no, when you go through mergers, things happen, stresses happen, and things come in the company and kind of it just falls on whoever's lap is left. And I was one of the last people that was left. So you can imagine doing 16 different people's job, and yet you're still being told to do, your job that you got hired for every single day, plus, the 16 other jobs.
With no upward mobility.
With no upward mobility. And so I think life eventually said she's had enough. She's had enough. Let's break the chains.
So the chains get broken, and now you get an opportunity to be creative. Now the universe gives you all levels of thickness of brushes and a huge palette of color and says, go paint.
And I stumbled. I didn't know what to do.
Oh.
I had a failing event business. What I mean by failing was I was still successful, but I brought my business with me from DC when I moved to Jersey. I had established it and set it up in DC. The majority of my clients were in DC. And so it became cumbersome because I kept going back down to DC. I never really was able to get an inroads into the Philadelphia, New Jersey market.
Okay.
And so I decided to sell it. And that was the first thing I wanted to do. And I said, you know what, I'm going to sell it. And, this is what it'll be. I had no plans to do anything else. But, the universe works in mysterious ways.
Come on.
So the lady that I was going to sell it to was like, well, why don't we go into business? Because I'm a designer. I'm an event designer. And you're an event planner. So just for those folks who are listening, be careful who you get when you're planning your wedding or an event. A lot of times your planner is the one who's doing all of the, the schedules. They're talking to your vendors. They're coming up with the timelines. They're keeping everything on track, paying the bills. The designer is the one who puts it all together, who, as most people like to say, who color in the brush strokes.
Mm.
And so those are your centerpieces, your accents, your to make the whole thing come together, the details. And so you want to find a planner that's good at both. Well, what I was finding was I was lacking a designer and she was lacking a planner. And so we merged our businesses together, which is now it's called With Joy Events, it's LLC. And I'm the senior partner.
Come on, senior partner. Come on, senior partner. So not failing, but failing up.
Yes, an interesting turn of events, because what it allowed me to do was still do the things that I love to do, but have a team. We now have a team under us. Mm-hmm. So I'm training junior designers and junior planners how to do weddings and events.
So there's a mentorship component.
Exactly. I never thought I would be used in that way. But now I'm training.
I knew you'd be using that way, but it takes time to kind of step in that direction and allow the universe to just push you and kind of poke you sometimes into that direction.
It does.
What do you love about? Oh, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, and because I was in a space where I was at peace, I was at love with myself. I had gotten over my hurdles from postpartum depression. I was accepting for the universe's change. I learned to look at that change not in a negative way, but in a positive way.
Wow. And what do you think about, I call it the lens, basically like glasses. We all have glasses that we put on in the morning. I'm not talking about just the ones that allow me to see in front of my face.
I know what you mean.
Some mornings I pick up the glasses that are like, oh Lord, why do I have to go in here today? And then some days I'm like, oh, thank you, Lord, for another day. How did you switch your lenses?
I don't think I ever took them off, honestly. I think in the back of my head, my creativeness, I had pushed aside and made it dormant for so long that it was just bursting to come through. And I'm still a planner, so I'm still organized. I'm still very, confident in the things that I do. But I'm still much more, I'm much more now able to see, like you said, the creativeness. I can see the colors. I can see the vividness. I can see that there are opportunities, which is why I came in the middle of the night, decided to create L. Alexandria, the design company that I created, because I just needed to get it out. It's in me and I needed to get it out. I needed to share it with the world. Like you said, I needed to share it with people who needed a platform, but didn't want to have to pay so much for a BS, basic website that won't do them anything. I'm teaching them about traffic. I'm teaching them about, hashtags, why it's important, cross branding on different platforms, why it needs to be symmetrical. Things that, as business owners and artists, they're not necessarily thinking about. They're just like, I just want to put it out there and people to love me. Well, there has to be some intuition behind it. There has to be some intent as well. And so I'm the intent behind your platform.
I know that you love it so much. You were talking about how L. Alexandria came up for you in the middle of the night. You and I often text message at 2-3 o'clock in the morning when inspiration hits. And I think, and people ask me all the time, like, why are you up at 2 or 3 in the morning when you know you have to be back at work at 9 or 10 the following day? Like, it is a love and a passion for this work that allows us to bounce ideas in the way that you and I do. Through WhatsApp. I want to talk about that love that you bring to L. Alexandria and all of your other projects and work. Do you think that that's something that's just naturally in you, or do you think that it's something that you have to just constantly cultivate and bring up?
A little bit of both. So, my mom was my strongest example of love. I'll be honest, I wasn't the easiest child. I was challenging, bold, daring. But the way she showed me how to cultivate my creativity was to put it in a way that, was always be positive, Shay, be uplifting. And what you put out in the universe will come back.
Mm.
And so I
She
feel like
used
if
that
you have a gift.
language?
Yes, my mom. My mom's an English teacher. So she taught for
Ah.
32 years.
Because everybody's mama
Um,
isn't saying what you put out into the universe, Shay, will come back to you. So I'm like, whose mama was this? Like
Listen,
your
my mama is
mama.
a Sag too, so she speaks in universe terms. I think her and the universe are like one. They're sisters. I always
I
say that.
love it. And so
Yeah,
she said this to you, and it sunk in.
it did. And just being able to, and then of course my dad being Mr. Profitability was like, well, if you're gonna be doing all that, then you might as well make a profit for it. So I have, mom's creative energy, creative juices that probably were just born out of me being born. And my dad's very analytical way of seeing things. I don't want to say just always as a profit, no. But if you have a passion, if you have something that you love to do, mine is creating things, creating conversation, creating websites, creating events. I'm a creator. Um, and so his thing was if you're going to be able to do this, you've got to be able to support yourself too.
Mm.
And so learning how to monetize that passion. And that's really what I help my clients with. Like I said, I'm the intent behind it. Okay, you have this, I have a client who's a floral designer.
I was going to
She
ask you
is,
about one of your projects. Hmm.
yeah, she's amazing. Um, Her thing is she just makes great flowers and she expects people to find her. And I'm like, honey, you live in South Jersey. Nobody's gonna find you. You have to have some intent. You have to have some intent behind it, but you have to be deliberate when you do it. And so
Mm-hmm.
helping, kind of helping them get out of their shell a little bit, because
I
I'm a
know.
marketing girl too. You got to push a little bit.
Hmm.
When it's
Hmm.
your baby, you hold it real tight, real close. You got to be willing to, have somebody else give you an objective opinion, to
Mm.
push you in the right way. Because you want to be successful, you want to be profitable. I mean, nobody does entrepreneurship because they just want to work more hours and, you
Right.
know, slave at 2 o'clock in the morning, which is what we're doing.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
They want to be able to, say, all right, I want to go to Miami this week and be able to take off and go to Miami.
What would you
Um,
tell the entrepreneur that's like him and hawing and kind of like they have that idea, but they're just not sure that they want to like push in the direction of that dream?
I'll be honest, not everybody is built for entrepreneurship life. Because there are sacrifices. Um, I'm a mom, and so my kids have been dragged to meetings. My kids have been sat in front of an iPad for 3 hours while I have a business meeting.
Mm.
Starbucks is the small business, meeting boardroom. My daughter can order an amazing Starbucks frappuccino for you. She could pronounce
She
words I
can?
couldn't pronounce at 5. Yes.
Come on.
So she'll go in and be like, I want a low fat, no skim whip, skinny white grande. And I'm just like, man, I did this to her. But can you get that in 2 so I can get one too?
Yeah. Like I created this situation and double
Yes,
it, please.
exactly. And so, she's fantastic at doing things like that. But I encourage it because I want her to see how much work goes into it. It's just not the successes. It's about the failures too. My business when I moved here was failing. I was under every single month. I wasn't making a profit. So it was cumbersome. It was frustrating. Um, but I learned a lot from it. And I learned that when I moved the business, I was just like, oh yeah, I could just move it and do it in Jersey. Well, I never did any market research. I never, couldn't make the connections because I was always working 9 to 5 or 9 to 9, as I used to say, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m.
Wow.
At my, corporate job doing whatever. I had no time. And that's why I said the luxury of time was given to me. And I don't take it for granted. I don't take that time that I've been unemployed, but professionally for granted. It was probably time for a break.
Talking
So
about the
to the
gift.
entrepreneur that's thinking about it, I would say do
Say
it.
that one more time. As an
To
entrepreneur.
the entrepreneur that's thinking about it, do it. See if it's something you can really do. But do it with intent and do it with purpose. And then the other thing I would say is grab you 2 or 3 good friends. Number one, you need a great lawyer who can write great contracts.
Come on. Come
Contracts
on.
save you all the money in the world. So you don't get sued. That's important. And then the second thing is you need to hire myself or Andre for your marketing. Because
Hey! You
duh.
didn't have to do that. You didn't have to do that. You didn't have to do that.
Duh.
But do that, listeners. Do
Yes,
that.
do that. Do that.
like Shea didn't have to do that, but you listeners do that. Because I mean, both of us, and I'll co-sign that. Thank you, Shea. I'll co-sign that by saying that we are just so passionate about people. It's not really, I mean, it's about the geeking out of things and like, how does this graphic look? I mean, you hit me up like we're going to talk about this new thing, because there's always a new thing coming out of your office. But you and I were going back and forth about your new thing that we're about to talk about. She's about to talk about a new thing, y'all. I'm about to tell you about this new thing. And we're going back with these graphics about it. And it's wonderful because while we do want to be successful and productive and gain a resource in the form of doll hairs from this, at the heart of it is this need to connect that florist in South Jersey with the person that needs her flowers.
Absolutely.
And
because somebody's looking for her.
Someone, definitely.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
Mm-hmm.
You know what else someone's looking for? Someone else is looking for a wonderful opportunity to pair. You know what? I'm not even going to talk about it. What are they looking for right now that you're working on?
I'm working right now with an author. So I'm not just, small businesses or entrepreneurs. To me, an author can be an entrepreneur as well. This person that I'm working with is unique because his entire perspective is really about changing the social commentary that we have about Black people specifically, or people of color, I should say, and the stigma against mental health. What I mean by that is we are conditioned in everything that we do to suppress our Black heritage.
Wow.
We code switch at work. We switch up the way we talk, the way we dress when we get to a certain level of establishment. We whitewash our kids. We send them to the best schools in the suburbs instead of the inner city schools. We try to strip away all of the Blackness that makes us who we are because we want to assimilate. We want to be, whether consciously or subconsciously, we do it. And so there's this thing that happens right around middle school, which is we learn our identities and who we are start to form. And that's kind of the pivotal age that he's targeting through his books. He's working on a 3-part series. The first one just launched. And he's really trying to grasp that age group, the middle school age group, when you're formulating your ideas and start talk to them about, the importance of loving yourself, the importance of taking pride in your culture, the importance of being who you are and accepting who you are, because everything in our society tells us to strip it away. I thought that was so powerful. I was drawn to that, and that's why I wanted to work with him.
So amazing.
Yeah.
So amazing. In addition to that, I want to tell everyone about Vine and Versus Book Club.
Yay! So guys, I'm a geek on the low. Okay. Like I geek out. I read all kinds of books. I love fantasy books. It kind of just helps me like my mind to just go somewhere else other than, the day-to-day mundane things that we have to do and tackle. Um, uh, and so I wanted to establish kind of like a modern day book club. So I just threw it out there on Facebook and was like, hey, anybody interested? I got 15 people already who have signed up
I love it.
for a virtual and in person, because I will host here in my house for those who are local to come on over. And we're celebrating literacy, promoting, kind of like inspiring discussion topics. And all of this is to promote just not just women of color, but people of color. Promote authors, promote dreamers, things like that to help people understand that the written word is still amazing, it's still inspiring, and there's some power behind a good book.
There is. And so what will that look like? How do people jump into this?
Sure. So I'm on Instagram, of course, at Vine, that's VINE, and the word and verse. And I came up with Vine and verse because I love unwinding the day with a good book and a glass of wine. I'm not a book and coffee kind of girl. I'm a book and wine kind of girl. So Vine is a play off the word wine. And of course, a verse is a good line in a book. So Vine and verse _ book club on Instagram. You can just DM me from there, and I'll get you set up with what we're currently reading. We meet on the second Sundays virtually. I'm still working out the kinks on how we're meeting up virtually, but I'm going to partner with Andre on a couple of things to help me get settled on what app I should use.
I got you.
Thank you, love.
All day.
And we'll get started and just start discussion topics from there. And then at some point, I would love to put those discussions up online in some sort of like catalog so that people other places can join in on the discussion, to start Twitter chats and just kind of get excited back about reading.
Yeah, and more importantly, or additionally, reading women of color who are doing amazing things
absolutely
on the planet in the world of literacy.
And it's not just I don't want to just limit it to books. If there's a great play, if there's a great movie or something like that, and we can get the screen right, that would be great too. Because I feel like there's so many women who are in different kinds of writing roles.
Women of color deserve a platform and a space where they can be seen, and people that value that can also appreciate it.
Exactly. So playwrights, if you're writing for a TV show, we would love to have and see your scripts. So I'm open to having authors join the book club as well. I wanted to go worldwide. I want this to be the best book club like ever, like Oprah's book club.
I love it. Vine and Versus Book Club. I'm excited about what's to come with that. Now, when you're not, yes. So when you're not reading your books before bed or winding down and having wine, what other things bring you joy?
I love just being able to reach out to different people. So I'm always looking for ways to interact with people in different ways, whether that's, going out to an event to network, and not just like, oh, here's my business card. Actually, like meeting a person. Like, I'm old school. I'm of that generation where, you put the phone down, you say, hi, my name is Shea. You don't lead with what you do. You say, hi, my name is Shea. What do you do? Where do you live? Those kind of questions that actually are open-ended questions that can prompt discussion and not just sitting behind my phone. I didn't grow up in that generation, and I know I'm dating myself. I was in high school, I think, before cell phones came out. So
We both were. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And just so we know, I did do the math, and it's been 2 decades. We've known each other for 2 decades.
I was about to say, like, that math was a little fuzzy at the top of the episode, but I was like, you know what? Yeah, sure. 10. I'm gonna back up because you were like, let's just call it a decade. I was like, oh, maybe this is like touchy here. It's been 2 decades.
2 decades.
You're legitimately a lifelong friend.
Oh, thank you. And likewise, I've watched you grow and mature and become this amazing person, starting this amazing Love City Arts. I think it's great. I'm so honored to be on the call today. To listeners who may be tuning in for the first time, this is definitely one of those podcasts you want to keep listening to. It's one of my top favorites. Really just some great quality interviews that you do. So thank you again so much, Andre. That's a plug for you.
I saw that plug. Once again, like, where do I send the money? Where do I send the cash? Oh my goodness. What we were talking about is
all that good stuff.
Right. In addition to wine and books and Love City Arts podcast, like, what else do you love?
Gosh, I'm a Sag, so a good party is always good for me. I love a good holiday party. My friends around here call me, what do they call me? Christmas Karen or something, because I'm always in like a cheerful, holiday spirit mood. The holidays are my favorite time of year. Yes. Tinsel Tanya, that's what it is. Tinsel Tanya is my nickname over here.
In the burbs? You're the Tinsel Tanya of the burbs?
Tanya of the burbs, because I'm always throwing some sort of like a reason to drink wine and talk.
You mentioned this earlier in the episode. People are losing that quality of just getting together with a glass of wine and just sharing quality time. What do you think that's all about?
So listen, I'm gonna put this out there. Brunch is overrated. Brunch is overrated. Dunch is the best. Okay.
Wait. You all are hearing it first on the Love City Arts podcast. Brunch is overrated. Let it be known everywhere. Hashtag brunch is overrated.
Yes.
Dunch? What is dunch?
The dinner lunch. So it's that time at like 3:34 on a Sunday, when you're just doing absolutely nothing. Literally, who does anything at like 4:00 on a Sunday?
I don't know.
Back in the day, that was like prime eating time for Black folks.
Post-church.
And so I like to call it dunch.
Okay.
It's dinner lunch. It's a heavier lunch. So you go, do your church or do whatever you do. A lot of people have like kids who have, lacrosse games and things like that. You could tell I'm in the burbs.
I was like, lacrosse?
Yes, lacrosse.
Fancy. Okay, cool. So once you pick the kids up from the lacrosse practice of the game,
then you can go hang out with your girlfriends for dunch, and you can talk about, you can have a little kiki. I love it.
No, how do the men align with dunch or the more, I won't say masculine energy because that's just not 2018, but like how do the fellas?
He gets into it. So my husband cooks a lot. He's he actually wanted to open a restaurant at one time, and I really do hope he follows his passion and opens one, because he's very talented with the meats.
Okay.
Can I say that? He's talented.
I mean, don't you get me going on this podcast, because I won't stop. So yes, he can be talented with the meats.
Okay, how about this?
Take that as you will, listeners.
A grill master. How about that?
That's probably more. Love it.
A grill master. So anything you can think of, he's throwing it on the grill, and it comes out amazing, delicious. He comes up with his own spices and sauces. And so he really gets into it. And so like by 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, we've got, 2 or 3 folks over. We're laughing, we're joking, the kids are having fun, and it's just a good time. It really is. It's become our favorite time, Sunday dunch. That's what
And this is as the sun is setting, and we're just really kind of coming into this like energy of night, and everything's cooling down. You've got wine in hand. People are gathered around. Lots of love and laughter.
Yes, we get the fire pit going. The kids can roast marshmallows. It's just kind of like,
I need my invite.
Come on. Now, if you don't mind coming on down to Jersey.
Well, you know us New Yorkers. You know how
I know how y'all do. If it ain't in the 5 boroughs, it ain't happening.
Oh Lord, don't do me. Don't do me. Don't do me.
You will have a special invitation whenever you come to Dunch.
Thank you. Thank you. Tell me before we go about your life mission. Like you told us about all of the hats you wear and all of the ways in which you execute life. Let's see. I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 titles that we can name.
Mm-hmm.
How are all of those influenced by your life's mission?
I can tell you this. When I was growing up, I thought my life would be one way. I never could imagine that it would be where I am today.
How did you think it would be?
Like when I was growing up, I really wanted to be like a lawyer or something, I think. Like just, a stable job kind of, I really just wasn't really sure what to do with the creative energy I had inside. But through it all, I decided that, and then this is just evolution over life. The past 20 years, post-graduating from high school, I kind of reimagined myself multiple times. I went through that quarter life crisis when you're 25 and you're just like, oh my God, what am I doing with life? And then you hit your 30s, and something about your 30s, it kind of gels together. And I don't know what it is about 30s, but it makes sense. Things that you did in your 20s, it makes sense, And
you'll have to tell me about what that's like because I'm not
another podcast.
I was gonna say, and also because I'm not there yet, but that's not true.
Tell the truth. Shame the devil.
I'm there. 30s are wonderful. What are they giving you though? What you said it gels? So like,
yeah. So everything just gelled. Like in the past, probably like 3 years, just being able to really own who I am, walk in my truth, and be comfortable in my skin. That doesn't mean I don't have good days. I don't have bad days. I'm terribly overworked, but I love everything that I do. So it doesn't feel like a job. It feels just like I'm having a good time every single day. And now I look at my life with purpose. Like, what is my intent? What am I trying to do in this world? What's my footprint that I want to give? And one of those things is I just want to be able to look back on my life and say I helped somebody. I helped somebody get there. I helped somebody make it. Even if I don't reach, the level of success of Oprah, which is, of course, what my goal is.
Yes.
I help somebody else get there, by being a shoulder. And I know that seems diminutive, but I feel like everything that in my life has led me to this moment to just reach back and make sure the next generation is prepared. I have 2 kids, and one of them right now is in the kitchen going through stuff that she knows she shouldn't be.
Uh-oh. Are you going to get her together on a national audience? Because
no, going back upstairs, please. We don't gather our children on the podcast.
Okay. Listen, that's you're the qualified one. I don't have a chicken or a child anywhere. So yeah,
a child.
Oh my gosh.
But really and truly, I really just want to be able, my legacy, my building wealth is what I like to say I'm doing, is so that as Beyonce says, there'll be some more brown children on the Forbes list. You know, I want to be able to make sure that there is a generation that has a platform, that has a space that's not, you know, trying to diminish their Blackness, trying to diminish who they are, especially my daughter as a young Black girl. She's able to identify herself as a Black woman, a strong Black woman. And my son, you know, he's growing up in a world where, you know, it's unfortunate that little Black boys are killed for Skittles now.
Say that. Say that.
Yeah. You know, they're mistaken. You know, I think the thing that gets me the most is, you know, that our children may not make it. They may not make it. We may not make it. But at least there's something for them to stand on, whether it be finances, this business, Alexandria, this is London's business. She can do with it what she wants with it. I hope it's $1 million business. So when she graduates, she walks in with $1 million.
Yes.
Because money talks and bullshit walks, you know? So she has a platform to stand on. She has the capital to stand on. And that's really the most important part. I understand what my dad was saying to bring it full circle, that you have to be able to monetize yourself because you have to be able to support yourself. And what he really meant was you have to be able to make it profitable so that you can then reach back and help somebody else.
To encourage that Black girl magic and that Black boy joy and whoever else of any demographic that we touch.
And that's the key. That's the key. So if I had to sum it all up, what I want to do, or what do I see myself doing? I really just want to make sure that my children, and not just my own, but anybody else's children that I come in contact with, can be blessed by me in somehow.
Wow.
Is that too humbling? That might be too humbling.
No, that's a mission with a capital M, and with goals like that, you'll never run out of task to do. You'll never run out of noble and heartfelt work.
Yeah.
I think it's great. Where will you be spreading your love and your mission to uplift next?
You know, I haven't thought about it, but I do think that the next thing is taking my platform, meaning Alexandria, the Two Cool Parents podcast, and maybe turning everything into its own brand. What I mean by that is kind of like how you have Love City Arts. A lot of things come underneath it.
Yes.
Kind of like how Oprah's name is Oprah. You know, I have the moniker on my own personal social medias of That Girl Shea.
Yeah.
And how I got that name, or came up with that name, was, first of all, nobody could pronounce my name. It was Sheila, Sharon, whatever. It's just
Shea.
Yeah. It's Shea. Literally, I'm named after the Shea Stadium in New York. So only people in New York got it. But I want to figure out a cohesive way to brand all of this and funnel it like Oprah does. Literally, she's my icon. To just, you know, streamline it so that there's multiple streams of income, but it all ends up in the same bank account.
Come on.
You know?
Yeah. Because it seems like the overall theme of this episode has been about how to turn something you love into something that elevates you and brings you prosperity.
It does. And that's what I always say. Turn your passion project into profitability. You know, you need to be able to, you know, this day and age, have multiple streams of income. And 9 to 5 for a lot of people doesn't hold it down, doesn't give you everything you need. So you need multiple streams of income, and being able to turn your passion projects, or even, like you said, that entrepreneur that's not sure, that artist, that budding, you know, creative energy, just trying to figure out what to do next, call Andre and Shea and we'll help you through it, you know?
We will get you there. We will get you there. Yeah. Now, look, I want to thank you again for being on the podcast. This is amazing. amazing.
It was.
And
it turned out great. Seems how
yes,
we had so much good stuff to talk about. I'm so excited. Yeah.
And I always end every podcast with 3 fill in the blanks.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Your fill in the blanks are love is.
Love is your passion.
Joy is.
Doing that passion.
Oof. Freedom is.
Living that passion.
You better preach a whole sermon today.
Come on now. I thought you were gonna give me a challenge. That was good.
I love it. I love it. Look, you accepted that challenge and you knocked it out of the park. Thank you so much for living your passion, Shea Oliver Wright, on the planet, and thank you for living your passion here with us today on the podcast.
Thank you for having me. This has been great. Seriously.
If you enjoyed today's podcast, I want to invite you to like, share, comment, and tweet about this episode. Your comments help me to make this podcast the best that it can be and continue to share the love. Don't forget to pass this episode on to someone that you may know that might need an extra pick-me-up as well. Also, feel free to visit lovecityarts.org. We've got more episodes, monthly giveaways, upcoming in-person events, uplifting blogs, and a book club on the way. Love City exists to uplift artists, the ones that love them, and the inner creative genius in us all. Thanks so much for listening, and stay tuned for another uplifting episode from the Love City Arts Podcast.